Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking a look at something that really defines late summer and early fall for anyone managing whitetail deer. We're talking about Epizootic Hemorrhagic Disease, or EHD.
Right. And what the sources we looked at show is that this isn't just a bad flu season. It's a devastating virus that can just decimate a population in a few weeks.
It's a serious threat.
Absolutely. Fundamentally, it's pretty straightforward. There's a virus and there's a carrier, the vector, which is a tiny biting midge. You might know it as a no-see-um.
Okay, so you need the virus and you need the midge, but that's not the whole story, is it?
Not at all. That's just the starting point.
Exactly. So the real question we're digging into today, the core of our deep dive, is why does one property see maybe a few cases while the guy next door gets, absolutely hammered?
And the data we reviewed it's incredibly clear on this.
It all points to one thing, deer overpopulation. It acts as what we're calling the EHD accelerator.
That's the perfect term for it.
And we need to be clear, density doesn't cause the disease.
No. That's a critical distinction. But it's the one factor that ramps everything up, from a manageable problem to a complete catastrophe.
For anyone managing a herd, understanding that link seems like the most important piece of the puzzle.
It is, because it's one of the only things you can actually control.
Okay, let's break down how that acceleration actually works, starting with the basics of transmission.
So the mechanism is simple. A midge bites an infected deer, it picks up the virus, and then it flies off and bites a healthy deer.
One bite to the next.
But the environment makes that simple transfer. Well, it makes it much more complicated and much more dangerous.
You're talking about the conditions in late summer. The heat, the lack of rain.
Exactly. Drought conditions. The deer change their behavior. They can't stay spread out anymore. They're forced to congregate.
Around the only water they can find.
Precisely. Those last few shrinking, muddy water holes. And they suddenly become these incredible danger zones.
The perfect storm.
It really is. This is where overpopulation creates this multiplicative risk. You get three essential factors forced into one tiny space.
Okay, so what are the three?
First, you have the hosts, the deer themselves. High numbers, all packed in close. Second, the vector, the midges.
Which love those muddy banks for breeding.
They thrive there. And then third, you have the infected. If just one sick deer shows up, the virus is now in that super concentrated area.
I see it. So instead of a midge having to fly a quarter mile to find another deer, its next meal is standing like 2 feet away.
2 feet away. It makes the virus transfer incredibly efficient. It turns what should be a source of life water into the main hub of infection for the entire herd.
And that's the first major way density accelerates the crisis.
It's the physical concentration of risk.
So that's the direct impact. But the sources also talked a lot about an indirect effect, right? How density weakens the animals before they even get sick.
Yes, this is a huge piece of it that often gets overlooked. I mean, a truly healthy, robust deer has a decent shot at surviving EHD.
But a stressed one doesn't.
A stressed deer's immune system is already compromised. It's suppressed, and high-density populations are basically a recipe for chronic stress.
Okay, let's break down those stressors. What's first on the list?
The most obvious is just food, what we call poorer forage quality.
The buffet is empty.
Right. The land just can't produce enough high-quality food for that many mouths. So you have deer that are in a constant state of nutritional stress, and their bodies just can't afford to spend energy on a strong immune response.
So you're saying a malnourished deer is already halfway to losing the battle against the virus?
In a way, yes. It sets the stage. Then you add another layer. Higher parasite loads.
Because they're all crowded together.
Exactly. Parasites, other low-level diseases, they spread much more easily, which just keeps draining the deer's resources and strength.
And I imagine there's a social aspect to it, too.
A huge one. Increased competition, constant fighting, constant jostling for food, for space. That is a massive physiological stressor. It keeps their cortisol levels high, which we know suppresses the immune system.
So the end result is, it's tragically predictable.
It is. These stressed, weakened animals are just far more susceptible. They get sicker, the symptoms are worse, and they're much, much more likely to die than a deer from a healthy, low-density herd.
Density doesn't just help the virus spread faster?
It actively lowers the entire herd's ability to fight it off.
That brings us to what I thought was the most dramatic part of the analysis, this idea of an exponential feedback loop.
Right, the amplification phase.
Let's talk about that. How does a dense herd fuel the vector, as the sources put it?
It's a very direct relationship. One report described a high-density herd as, and I'm quoting here, an all-you-can-eat buffet for the midges.
And I assume more food means more midges.
A lot more midges. It's simple biology. When the midges have an unlimited food source, you get higher survival rates for them, you get increased reproduction.
And a bigger midge population means faster viral spread.
Much faster. The deer are basically breeding the very insects that are about to kill them.
That's a grim feedback loop.
And that's what leads to this amplification phase. It's the moment when an already bad situation becomes an explosive, out-of-control outbreak.
Okay, so paint that picture for us. How does it happen?
It's a quick, deadly cycle. An infected deer shows up at that crowded waterhole. A midge bites it, gets the virus. Because the deer are shoulder to shoulder, that midge immediately bites another deer, then another.
And those deer are already weakened from the stress we just talked about.
They're highly vulnerable. So now you have 3, 4, 10 infected deer. The midge population is booming because of all the available hosts. So more midges bite more deer, and the cycle just repeats. But it repeats exponentially.
It just snowballs.
It snowballs into a massive die-off. And when you look at the data from the real world, it's stark. The absolute worst EHD events happen when 3 things overlap.
Let me guess. High deer density is one.
That's number 1. Number 2 is a drought year that forces them together. And number 3 is a warm, wet summer that's perfect for midge reproduction.
When those 3 things line up, it's not a matter of if, but how bad.
It's nearly guaranteed to be a severe outbreak.
So let's bring this all home. For you, the listener, whether you're a landowner or a hunter, what's the big takeaway here? What's the final synthesis?
The central takeaway is that overpopulation is the one variable you actually have some control over. It's the factor that decides if you see a few isolated cases, which is, a normal background event, or if you see a truly catastrophic die-off.
The bottom line really is that 2 neighboring properties can face the exact same weather, the exact same number of midges.
Exactly the same external pressures. But the property where the deer population is managed, where it's kept in check, and below the land's carrying capacity.
That one will always come out better.
Dramatically better, every time. The sources are clear. Managing herd density is the single most effective tool you have for mitigating EHD risk.
You can't control the virus, you can't control the weather.
But you can manage the number of targets. That's where your leverage is.
It really emphasizes that proactive management is just disaster prevention, isn't it?
That's the perfect way to put it.
Okay, before we wrap this up, let's leave you with one last thing to think about. A final provocative thought from this deep dive.
We've established that the worst die-offs need that perfect storm. High density, drought, and weather that's good for midges. So think about those 3 forces for a second. Which of them is the most unpredictable, the most difficult to manage? It's the weather, right? The drought.
Of course.
And so, conversely, which of those factors gives you the most leverage for protecting the long-term health of your herd? I mean, the science points right back to that density lever we've been talking about. The real question for you to consider is, are you willing to pull it?
Something to think about for sure. Thanks for providing the material for this and for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.